guys, welcome back to another episode of the Brooklynite TV podcast, where we talk about the pressing issues affecting our city and borough. I'm your host, Frank, and today's episode is a crucial one, exploring the drug epidemic in New York City affecting so many people. More importantly, how it's impacting the kids of today. We'll focus on how today's drugs, often disguised to look like harmless candies, are affecting our youth. We'll discuss the dangers posed by fentanyl, trace the roots of this crisis back to the drug problems of the 1980s and 90s, and highlight the steps that we can take to combat this growing issue together, including the vital role that parents must play. So let's get into it. You know, in the past, the face of drug addiction in New York City was often associated with bad neighborhoods, gritty street corners, harsh realities, and visibly troubled individuals. But today, the landscape has shifted dramatically. The drugs that are now targeting our youth are not just concealed but camouflaged to look like everyday objects. Imagine a bright pink pill or powder or a pretty blue tablet shaped like an animal that can easily be mistaken for vitamins or candy. These seemingly innocent items are often laced with dangerous substances, including fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that is wreaking havoc not only in our borough of Brooklyn, New York City, but on communities across the nation. The allure of these drugs lies in their appearance. They're designed to be enticing and less intimidating than traditional narcotics. But let's not be fooled by their candy-like appearance. These drugs can be incredibly potent and deadly, posing grave risks to anyone who comes in contact with them. One of the most alarming aspects of today's drug epidemic is the proliferation of fentanyl. The synthetic opioid is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine and can cause an overdose even in small amounts. The reason fentanyl is so prevalent is due to its low cost and high potency, which makes it an attractive additive for drug dealers. Now, unfortunately, this means that even a small miscalculation or a single misstep could lead to a fatal consequence. Fentanyl is often mixed with other drugs like cocaine or heroin without the user's knowledge. In fact, some pills that look like prescription opioids or even over-the-counter medications are actually fentanyl-laced. This increases the risk of an overdose substantially, especially amongst young people who may not be aware of the danger they're facing. We need to understand that fentanyl is not just a danger to those who are actively seeking out the drug. It poses a risk to anyone who might accidentally consume it, whether through illicit pills, powders, or even marijuana that can be laced and contaminated. Now, to understand the current crisis, it's helpful to look back at previous drug epidemics. Let's talk about the 1980s and 1990s that saw the rise of crack cocaine, a drug that devastated New York City and led to significant social issues. The impact of crack cocaine was so profound, causing a surge in addiction rates and violence, and drove a cycle of crime and poverty. Now, what's striking today is how the drug landscape has evolved. You know, in the past, the problem was largely associated with a specific type of drug. Now the issue is more insidious and widespread. The drugs affecting today's kids are not only more dangerous, but also designed to be more deceptive. Now, this evolution in drug design reflects a shift in the tactics used by drug dealers. The goal is no longer just to sell you drugs, but to attract a new generation of users by exploiting their curiosity and desire for something that looks harmless. So what can we do? What can be done to tackle this pressing issue? There are several steps to address the drug epidemic and protect our youth. Education is key. Schools, communities, and parents need to be proactive in teaching children about the dangers of drugs. This education should include not only information about the drugs themselves, but also about the tactics used by dealers to disguise them. Awareness campaigns can help people recognize the risks associated with seemingly innocent pills and candies. And parents, they need to play a crucial role in combating the drug epidemic. It's essential for you parents to engage in open and honest conversations with your kids about drugs. Monitoring their activities, knowing their friends, and being aware of their surroundings can help prevent drug use. Additionally, parents should educate themselves about the signs of drug use and seek help if they suspect their kid may be fooling around or involved with these drugs. Now, community programs can provide support and resources for both individuals struggling with addiction and families affected by drug abuse. These programs can include counseling, support groups, recreational activities that may offer positive alternatives to using drugs. On a broader level, law enforcement and policymakers need to strengthen efforts to control the supply of these illicit drugs. Closing down the border could help. This includes cracking down on drug trafficking and ensuring that law enforcement agencies are equipped to handle the challenges posed by fentanyl and other synthetic drugs. Additionally, public health policies should support harm reduction strategies such as distributing naloxone. It's a medication that can reverse opioid overdoses. Finally, improving access to treatment and support services for those struggling with addiction is also crucial. This includes increasing funding for addiction treatment programs, ensuring that they're accessible and affordable, and offering support for individuals in recovery. So let's delve deeper into the role that parents got to play in this fight. Parents are on the front lines when it comes to safeguarding their own children from the dangers of drug addiction. It's not just about having to talk, okay? The talk is good, but maintaining an ongoing dialogue about the drug and their uses and its consequences. Encourage your children to talk openly about their experience, concerns, and peer pressures. Creating an environment where they feel safe to share their experiences can make a significant difference as well. Establish clear rules and boundaries regarding drug use. Make sure your children understand the expectations and consequences associated with doing drugs. Your own behavior sets a powerful example. Avoid using drugs and alcohol in ways that could be perceived as normalizing these behaviors. Educate yourself about the current drug trends and substances that are prevalent in our community. Now, being informed will help you better understand the risks your children might face. Now, if you suspect that your child may be involved in drugs, don't hesitate to seek professional help. Counselors, therapists, and addiction specialists can provide valuable support and guidance in this situation. But more importantly, we need to stop coddling drug dealers and start holding them accountable with the full force of the law. The current approach, which often treats these criminals with leniency or minimal consequences, is utterly failing our communities. These drug dealers are not only selling drugs, they're actively poisoning the youth, exploiting their vulnerabilities, and contributing to an epidemic that devastates families and destroys lives. We must take a hard stance and impose stronger penalties that reflect the gravity of the crimes. It's time to prioritize the safety and well-being of our communities over the misguided notion of rehabilitating those who profit from other people's suffering. The drug epidemic will only be brought under control when we finally confront and dismantle the ruthless operation of these dealers with uncompromising determination. To effectively combat the drug epidemic and dismantle the operations of these ruthless drug dealers, we need to propose and enforce stronger, harsher penalties. First, we must introduce mandatory minimum sentences for drug trafficking offenses, ensuring that those caught distributing narcotics face substantial prison time. Additionally, establish a national registry for convicted drug users, drug traffickers, making it more difficult for them to evade justice or continue their operations under different aliases. Lastly, enhance collaboration between local, state, and federal agencies to ensure a unified and aggressive approach to dismantling drug trafficking networks. Now, people, the drug epidemic in New York City presents a complex and evolving challenge, but by understanding the dangers, learning from past experiences, lost loved ones, and taking a proactive step, we can make a difference. The rise of candy-like drugs and the pervasive threat of fentanyl highlights the need for vigilance and action from all sectors of society, from parents to policymakers. It's up to each one of us to play a part in this battle, whether it's through education, support, or advocacy. Together, we can work towards a future where our children are safe from the perils of drug addiction. So thank you once again for tuning in to this episode of the Brooklynite TV podcast. Please, people, I want you to stay informed, stay engaged, and let's make a positive change in our community. Until next time, take care and be safe. And if you like this episode, I ask you like, subscribe, and share. I hit the button too soon. But that's all for today, people. We hope this discussion has shed light on the drug epidemic in New York City and in Brooklyn. As always, I encourage you to stay informed and stay engaged on things affecting our community. If you have any thoughts or experiences related to this topic, again, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out. And don't forget, again, to subscribe for more in-depth discussions on stories that matter to us and our community. That's it for today, guys.